Swider man, he's getting all the attention now.
Ooh, I like that Swider man. That might be Cole's new nickname.
Swider basket and a foul.
Paddy, Casey.
Swider answered back. Swider from deep. Laces the three. Swider and one. Count the bucket.
Welcome back to the Swider Show, everyone. I know we promised a guest this week, but I mean, we just had some bad luck. We've had a lot of people who were busy. Hey, and it's basketball season, Paddy. We've gotten a lot of great basketball this past week, and a good 2-0 start for the Syracuse Orange, man. I'm feeling pretty good. And shout out to Adrian Autry for his first 2 wins as the Syracuse men's basketball head coach. But I wasn't able to watch the games. Obviously, I was able to watch some highlights. Paddy, what are your early impressions of the Syracuse Orange?
I don't know. It's weird. My very first impression was turning on the game on Monday night, and you see that court, you see the dome. The fact they're not in the zone, it still threw me off. Like I watched the exhibition games, but it's still just different. Not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but there is just like there's so much turnover from last year too. Not only on the sideline, but on the court. But I don't know, if nothing else, like they're just gonna be a very fun team to watch. I know I was talking to you about it, but. They just have these spurts where, especially the backcourt with like JJ and Judah, it's like they can go toe to toe with literally any backcourt in the country. And they just played Canisius. Canisius is how you say it, right? I was watching the game like low volume, so I didn't hear our guy Matt Park pronouncing it right. Canisius, yeah.
Canisius.
They were pretty good. They were solid, but ultimately it was just like JJ and Judah ended up being the best players on the court, and that's kind of like what took them over the top, but.
Yeah, no, I saw Judah go on a little 12-point. He scored 12 points in a row, and obviously JJ comes in heralded as a Syracuse kid. It seems like he's been playing well. So, yeah, man, happy to be 2-0. Obviously, I don't know. This one against Colgate is always tricky, but I feel good about it. I'm not going to call this a must win because it's the third game of the season, but I just want to beat them. I just want to beat them for the past 2 years. I know our team started the
trend
losing to Colgate, yeah, but just being up 17-2 against Colgate our year and then end up blowing it. But
no, you
it's
can't
all good.
Let the Raiders have a three-peat at the Dome. It just can't happen.
Yeah,
I think.
No.
Yeah, I'm predicting a blowout. I don't know how good Colgate is, but I know that I did the same thing behind the mic last year. But I think it'll go. I think it'll go better.
A quick funny story from Paddy Casey. So,
from me,
this is from you. So, not from you, but this is a story.
I said it. Yeah,
that includes you. Yeah. You know exactly where I'm going. So
I actually don't. I'm excited to hear this.
My 1 year at Syracuse, Paddy was like, I just feel like we're gonna go up like 17-2 against Colgate and just blow them out.
Yeah.
The score was legit 17-2. I think
I said 22-5.
And it was 22-5.
It was 22-5, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I picked up my third foul, and they just went on this huge run. They started making all the threes that they were missing, and they ended up putting up 100 on us, and we lost. But it's all good. It's in the past. Obviously, we've talked about our Syracuse season enough. But yeah, Paddy, what's been going on with you, man? How's the 9-to-5 life? And like we said before, sorry, Paddy, for cutting you off. But like we said before, no guest this week. We're sorry. We had a huge guest planned. All of our schedules are busy, but yeah,
we know how it goes.
Coming up for you guys next week. Yeah.
When the basketball season picks up, that's when our main guests get a little busier. But it'll be worth the wait. I think people know that
100%.
We'll get some good content out there, and coming up, we definitely will. But the big news in the Swider world this week is, aren't you in South Dakota for the first time? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm just trying to make it sound like more conversive.
I am, man. I'm in South Dakota for the first time. Got out here yesterday, and man, it gives me like a little bit of like a Syracuse vibe. Gives me a little bit of a like my mom went to University of New Hampshire, a little bit of like a Durham, New Hampshire vibe.
Right.
It's not as bad as people say. I got a nice 1-bedroom apartment. It's the first time I've ever had that. So.
Oh, you have an apartment?
That's a. Yeah, you
got a 1-bedroom
apartment. I'll show you after, Paddy. I'll show you after the show. But
you got to show around. Maybe we could do a Swider Show YouTube tour. South Dakota department. But I think the question on everyone's mind there is, how is it going from Miami to South Dakota?
Man, I'm a blue collar guy. I've always I don't know. I like both scenes. You know what I mean? I was obviously in LA last year, Miami this year, and but the year before that I was in Syracuse. And no offense to Syracuse, I love Syracuse, it's like a second home to me. But it's not like the destination spot for a lot of people. Kind of like Sioux Falls into the destination spot.
Yeah, especially
but also,
this time of year.
I'm a simple guy too, though. I found my, Paddy. I found some of my healthy eating spots already.
What are you
went
hitting?
to the grocery store.
Do they have kava in South Dakota? No way.
Man,
Dig?
I wish they did. I wish they did, man. But I got this spot, Crisp and Green, today. It was fire. There's a place called Co-op, which is kind of like a Whole Foods.
Oh, okay.
I hit that up, Paddy.
Remember the disappointment in your eyes last year when I visited LA and you're like, dude, I got a great spot to show you. And then we pulled up to Cava. I was like, oh, I go here all the time in New York.
Yeah.
I probably could have played that off better for the surprise factor, but no, I know you're scoping out all those spots.
Yeah, you know me. So, before that, I actually knew there was Cava in New York, so I don't know why I was gassing it up like that. But it's all good, man. It's all good. But yeah, man, exciting week of basketball. But it's not the first week of college basketball's not the same without the Legends Classic, huh?
That's the first topic on the agenda here, and why I keep looking down at my phone, because, I think we got to start with that. What is going on with the first week of college basketball? Do you think it's because coaches don't want to lose? That's why they're not playing, the bigger time opponents, or what?
I don't know, man. It's one of those things where, no team is going to be ready that first game, right? So you're either putting yourself in a great position after the first game or not a great position. But you look at Michigan State, they play against James Madison and lose a game at home against James Madison. If they lose to Kentucky or if they lose to Duke that first game, then no one's giving them that type of criticism the first game. So
did you watch that game at all?
I didn't. I wasn't able to watch that game.
There's a crazy, the guy just hit the biggest balls 3 ever at the end. They're up by 1, and they kicked it out to this guy who had 0 points, and he just drilled a 3 to put them up by 4.
That's unbelievable. That's I hate that for Michigan State. The guy who has 0 points just drops.
Yeah, that was you drafted that the worst feelings in basketball draft that you robbed, but. Yeah, that is just the worst. As soon as it's kicked out to him, if you're a Michigan State fan, you're like, oh, this guy's not hitting it. And then he just drilled it.
Whap!
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, the Champions Classic is what, next week? Next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's not the same. He used to open up with that when it was like De'Aaron Fox and those guys just lighting up the Garden.
Even Tyrese Maxey, he had a big first game, and that kind of put him on the map. I feel like it's such a great place for these kids to get put on the map, and then all of a sudden it's all right, there's eyeballs on you now big time after that first game.
Right.
I remember Manuel quickly had a big game. All these guys who end up being first round picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of start their career off.
It is
and I remember the most impressive Champions Classic to me was Zion's
the Zion game, yeah.
Duke. Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going.
That made the Zion camp. That made Zion the person that he was in college basketball, and we were looking at him to be the next icon. Obviously, it hasn't worked out that way, mostly due to injuries. But man, Zion, that 1 year of college basketball started off with that Champions Classic.
Well, that was nuts.
It's unbelievable.
So I guess the converse argument was after that, I remember everyone was like, "Well, Kentucky sucks," and you're now a teammate. Everyone was like, "Oh, Tyler Hero has a bust," but then to our point. By the end of the season, I think they ended up being a 2 seed. It's so far, so early in the season that you could just easily recover from it. No one really cares.
100%. And you saw this with our Syracuse team. You know how a basketball season goes. You're not the same team at the beginning of the year that you are at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a totally different player at Syracuse the first game compared to the last game. It's just a part of a season. Yeah,
that's the other good point about Cuse this year. I think with the more time they get. I am predicting, no matter where they finish in the ACC, I think they're going to get a giant win, knock someone off who's towards the top of the conference. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Paddy, do you see this team throwing in some zone? Can you see that? With
they did play a little bit of it the other night, I believe. I don't know if that was the other night or in one of the exhibitions, but I I don't know. It could kind of go either way. Because Naheem is just like the biggest guy on the court at all times. So it's like you could play zone and funnel everything that way, or they were being like super aggressive in a man-to-man the other day because you just have this like security blanket of a 7'4" kid right at the hoop.
Yeah, and there's no defensive 3 seconds. Like that's one thing I always forget about college basketball.
Oh, that's true.
Naheem can literally sit in there. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, like I remember Florida State plays their 7'3" guys like very weirdly, and it's worked for them. I'll give them credit. They used to switch those guys out on point guards and just have them guard point guards. Like, it was like the craziest thing ever. I don't think Red would do that. I think Red would stay more of like a drop coverage. But
that's what they were doing the last 2 games. They're mixing a little bit of a press too. Like it was kind of, I don't know. You could tell it was sort of early. It was like bare bones, but I think there's something there with that too. Depending on certain lineups. Sure. Malik looked very good. I'm not just saying that because he's wearing my number, but he's one of my favorite players on the team.
Yeah, he's obviously coming off an injury, and he's not 100% yet, but Malik's always been a very intriguing prospect for me just because his length, his attitude. Like, I think he's a very hard worker and does the right things. So I've always said the sky's the limit for Malik.
100%. Everything he does is additive. But Swider, we haven't done this in a while, but with no guest, I wanted to mix in a mailbag question. And this is from a little while ago. I think it was from the last time we did might have been from the live show, honestly. And that's why I always say, if you send in a mailbag question, we're going to read it on the show. And I saw this a while ago. Couldn't be a more perfect time for it. So it says for Cole and Paddy. I appreciate that. What was the best opening game of a season you ever had, and what made it the best? I could go first if you'd like me to answer.
Yeah, go first, Paddy.
Mine, shockingly, was the only time I played high-level Division I basketball, and I checked in against Lafayette, felt like a my player, got the ball, shot it, and it went in the hoop. That would be my, I think I'd go with that answer. As much as I love Division II, 8th grade, high school hoops, I think my debut at the official debut at the Dome, I'd have to go with that. I've watched that video myself maybe 400 times, so yeah, I don't know. What's yours?
Yeah, there's probably 2 games that stick out in my mind. So the first game my sophomore year at Villanova, we played against Army, and after my freshman year at Villanova, I was really down, worked super hard that whole entire summer, and had 18 and I think 7 against Army in my first game in my sophomore year. So that was a great first game. And then I would also say the Lafayette game, because for me that felt like a revival of myself. You know what I mean? Like I was finally able to play again, play freely. Coach Boeheim gave me the green light to go out there and play. I didn't really have a great game, but I mean statistically I had a decent game, but I just felt like so free and just able just to go out there and play. So I would say those 2 games stick out in my head as best opening games for sure.
Dude, there's nothing better than playing well in your first game of the season. Your sophomore year, you're looking at your averages. It's 18.0, 7.0, 66 from 3. You're like, I might
just get drafted.
I might just stay at this the entire year. There's no reason I would miss shots.
And basketball doesn't work out like that, man. I've seen a lot of people have great opening games, and then
that was a good question though. Some good answers by us as well.
Yeah.
NBA talk, real quick, dude. Wemby, I think,
about it, man.
was that the leading story on the court this week? We got to talk about the Harden trade too. I want to hear your take on that. But the highlights of Wemby against Phoenix were just terrifying. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Man, it kind of reminded. I mean, Wemby didn't hit a walk-up 3 against us, but just some of the alien-like plays that he makes out there is just ridiculous. There's no way a 7'4", 5, 6 guy should be able to do all that stuff. It is crazy. It is not human-like. I would say though that they always say records are meant to be broken. The record. No matter what the record is, eventually it will be broken over time, right? They said Kareem's record wasn't going to be broken. It gets broken by LeBron.
Right. The triple-double thing was always like that.
The triple-double thing. Mm-hmm. There's always, I think in my mind, it just shows me that there's so many more levels of a basketball player that we haven't even seen yet. Like, the evolution of the game is just going to keep evolving and growing. Like Shaq, if Shaq was born today, he probably isn't like the dominant force that he would be. Like, he's gonna get trained to be a guard, right? Like, from a young age. Like, it's just like.
Oh, you just mean like stylistically?
Stylistically, yeah, because a guy like Shaq doesn't get drafted. Like, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Oscar Tshiebwe and Kofi Cockburn, those guys get drafted in the top 5 in 1985, 1984. Right. Now those guys don't even get drafted. So how are you going to train your kid? How are you going to train that kid coming up? You're going to train him like Wemby, who's the number 1 pick and he's going to make a gazillion dollars playing basketball, or are you going to train him to be a on the block big that's outdated and just works in college?
Actually, question for you on that topic. What's your take on? I think a lot of people watch Wemby and their first takeaway is like, why is he just standing at the 3-point line and why isn't he in the post and why is he shooting threes? Do you think? Because me personally, I think this year and like next he should just shoot like 7 threes a game. Because then if it works out like Embiid where he used to be like that, and now I don't know. I just think people even now Embiid's a good example. They're still like, okay, if he shoots a 3, then the defense is happy, but it's like in football when you like have to run the ball sometimes. It's like he's going to have to somewhat take some possessions off. So if his possession off is being a 38% 3-point shooter when he's like 6 years into his career, then I think it's worth working out the kinks now.
I agree. I think, like you said, there has to be a variability in your game. And I think Joel Embiid has done a great job of like knowing like throughout the season, like, all right, I can settle for jump shots this part of the season. I need to, like, obviously in the playoffs, he's going to have to exert himself more and get into the paint because shots really don't fall in the playoffs because, like, you're expending so much energy on defense and game plan and you're so tired at that point in the season. But also, like, as Victor's body develops, he'll be able to play down low. I don't think it's a lack of skill. I think it's a lack of just body development. Like, we forget that he's 19.
Right.
He's 18, 19 years old. Like, at the end of the day, like, you just got to think about every single good player. They come into, besides LeBron, they come into the league not ready physically, and you have to develop that your body. And by the time he's 23, his body will be ready to get into the post and bang and do all those things. Like, he's obviously able to go down there and get some rebounds and catch alley-oops, but I don't think he's strong enough, and I think he knows that, and that's why he kind of settles for threes sometimes because he doesn't want to get knocked off balance. And like, he's playing to his strengths, which is smart.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I hadn't even thought of it really like physically, but he is just a freak. There's times where he just turns around and just dunks it over someone like they're playing on like a little Tykes hoop.
No, it's honestly ridiculous. Like, the dunk he had over Thomas Bryant in our game, like, I was like sitting like right there, like I was like, there's no way this is possible.
Right. Yeah, it's like nothing anyone's ever seen before. The other thing was the Harden trade. Were you surprised to see that? I feel like no one was really surprised to see it.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by the return? No.
I mean, honestly, I think it was a good trade for both sides, right? And I think Philly will be able to use those assets this year to get another player. You look at teams like Chicago, you look at teams like Toronto, look at some of these teams that like may not end up being the teams that they want to be by the trade deadline. Right. I bet there's a lot of sellers at the trade deadline this year because with the new tax aprons, like with the luxury taxes and everything like that, like teams are going to sell off their best players to stay underneath the aprons and not get taxed. Like, the Bulls are a luxury team; they're not anywhere close to being a championship contending team. The Raptors, I don't think they're a tax apron team. I don't think they're a luxury team. But at the same time, like, they're spending a lot of money on those guys. And when you have those guys, you either extend them or you have to trade them because they're able to walk in free agency. So I think there'll be a lot of teams selling at the trade deadline this year just because of the new luxury tax deal. So
if you're watching on Zoom, you can see that I was just nodding ahead, but I have no idea what tax apron means. Is that just like a certain number? Is that just the salary cap? You can't go over it now? Is it more strict?
Yeah, it's the new CBA. So the new CBA basically limits teams from getting a competitive advantage for example, like a Golden State or Steve Ballmer with the Clippers, they could pay a little bit more money, and those take the fines that come with it, right? Some of these smaller teams and smaller owners, they don't want to take those fines. They don't want to pay the extra luxury tax. I think
so you got to get off those guys?
You got to get off those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think last year, if Jordan Poole were to stay, then Golden State would have had to pay $436 million in salary this year, when they really only have I think $200 million in salary, because so is that high. So that was the part of the reason why they made it.
They would have won 150% over it, or 125%.
Yeah.
Is that math right?
Something crazy, yeah.
Maybe not.
So basically, the CBA created rules about the first apron, the second apron, and a hard cap.
Okay.
So you can't spend over a certain amount of money. It comes into play next year, and that's why you saw some of these weird deals, like Joe Harris getting traded to the Pistons for 2 second-round picks. It's like Joe Harris to the Pistons.
So is that kind of affecting the guys on the fringes a little bit more?
It is, and it's also affecting. There's no mid-level players anymore. No one's getting paid $15 million. No one's getting paid $10 million. Everyone's getting paid the minimum, or they're on a big contract.
I think we might have talked about this on the pod, so I apologize if this is a duplicate conversation, but I think it's useful.
It screws the middle. Yeah, it screws the middle guy. You know what I mean? I love Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant, big time Syracuse guy, got paid a bag this summer, and he earned it, right? But I think the difference between him and Torrey Craig, there's a difference. Jeremy Grant is a better player than Torrey Craig, right? But is it a $30 million difference?
Yeah.
Torrey Craig's on the minimum, and Jeremy Grant's on a $30 million or $32 million deal. It's just crazy.
That kind of screw over the teams too, then, right? Because it's less tradable guys. I feel like those guys in the 15 to 23 million range is usually when they're getting tossed in for affordable deals.
Yeah, I think it also kind of prevents trades. For example, we have a $30 million player in Kyle Lowry. Let's say hypothetically he was thrown into a trade. Last year, we were able to get Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, and D'Angelo Russell for Russell Westbrook's contract. You know what I mean? There's not Malik Beasley was on a $15 million deal.
Well, yeah. Now isn't he on a $3 million deal? Isn't he on a minimum with the Bucks or no? Yeah.
He's on slightly over a minimum with the Bucks.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's just hard.
It's kind of wild to put that in perspective now that the season started. There's a bunch of starters making $4 million.
100%.
I'm looking at that. How are those guys, affording housing and whatnot? When you're only making $6 million a year to play basketball,
it's absolutely ridiculous.
You're paycheck to paycheck, essentially.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah, screw those guys.
As far as other on the court stuff besides Wemby, the only other thing is our guy Adam Lewis is not here. He was busy with some important stuff out in LA because he's making big time moves. He's a big baller now, but he's feeling great about the Celtics. I think the Celtics, and probably the Nuggets, I guess, have won the first 2 weeks. Have you been watching much of other hoops besides when you're on the bench for Miami?
Yeah, no, I always love watching the NBA. I would say those teams are the best, the teams that look the best right now. But it's a good thing you don't win a championship in November, right? I think I said this last time.
Of course.
So, yeah, you could win an in-season tournament in December, but when you talk about a championship.
How did I not write that down? What was that like? Did it feel any different?
It didn't feel any different. The court was different, but the game felt the same. Obviously, we were playing the Wizards. Obviously, the Wizards have a great young core, and they'll be really good in the future. But right now, it's not. They're
not winning many games.
Yeah, they're not in a state of trying to win. So it wasn't very different besides the court.
It's kind of funny how a bunch of guys, I saw, who was it? Oh, Bones Highland and then Dame. They asked them about it, and they were both just yeah, we don't really know what's going on. We're just trying to play. With the games.
I will say, though, the more and more, we're getting into it, I do like the idea. I think it's going to end up being, a really cool thing. Like, it's just something different. It's something different to think about. Like, obviously, nothing's ever going to replace the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Like, the team who wins the in-season tournament. Like, I think the only interesting part that Tyrese Halliburton stated was, like, it would be pretty cool if the winner of the in-season tournament got an automatic bid to the playoffs.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, I wonder how many times the team that wins wouldn't be on track to make the playoffs, you know what I mean? But, like, would it be one of the 14 worst teams in the league? But it's kind of just like a why not thing. Like, if they're going to make it anyway, it doesn't affect them. But then, like, if a team that's, like, say the Magic this year are, like, fringing around, like, the 10 seed in the East, which I know gets into the playoffs, but then if they win the play-in or the in-season tournament, it's like, all right, we're in. I do kind of like that. It would give it more like a conference tournament NCAA type feel, whereas like an automatic bid.
Yeah, I like it too because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to play in the playoffs, right? So it shouldn't determine your seed, but let's say like you just like screw around this season, you're an 8 seed. All right, now you have to play you have to play the Celtics in the first round. Like there's probably no team that feels good about that besides like a Miami Heat. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So.
Yeah. It's a house of horrors for them. But I do think you can't really have it both ways. Like, people for so long have complained about the regular season and load management and all those things, and now that they're trying to actually do something to prevent it and make a game in the last week of October / first week of November mean something, then you can't really complain about it. I like the idea.
Yeah. No, I think it's grown on me. At first, I was like, all right, come on. And then the cash prizes are pretty cool. And then the two ways get half the cash prizes. So let's go Heat.
That's what we're pulling for. The actual thing is in Vegas, right? In what, December?
Yep, the Final Four is in Vegas, so that'll be cool.
Yep. Swider show. No strangers to Vegas.
Nope. Yeah, no, I think the in-season tournament's a great idea. Like you said, like there will be a champion. Like there will be a very competitive championship. I think because A, the money prize is pretty significant, and B, I think these teams like want to create a culture, especially like Sacramento, a team that hasn't like OKC who hasn't like made a deep run in the playoffs. I think
they'll have their sights set on it for sure.
All that stuff's gonna matter. So, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see how it comes out, and it will be a part of the NBA culture pretty soon. But yeah, man, I think that's good for this week. Great episode, Paddy, as always. Episode 52 now. 52. That's a full year of episodes, Paddy.
It really is a full week, like full 52 weeks.
52 weeks of
There's been a full
episodes.
Year catalog of the Swider Show. Hard to believe.
Yeah. But for all that's planned right now, I'm going to be playing our first G League game on Saturday. Going to start the G League season, and then I'll be back and forth throughout the season. We'll always keep you guys up to date here on the Swider Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will have a guest coming up soon. I'm hoping next week we'll have a guest.
I will say, I feel like there's times where I promise things. I'm like, oh, we could put this in the tweet. And then I forget about the highlight of the picture. I will remember to tweet out the link to your game because I always get that question like, oh, how can we watch the G League games? It's very easy. You just go on the site. But from the Swider Show, we can tweet that link out. You can follow the schedule. You can download the apps. And, yeah, you can check it out because you guys have one of the coolest courts. Not only in the G League, but in all of basketball. Don't you guys play at the Pentagon?
Yeah, we do. And the Q's is actually coming here December 17th. So.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yep, the Q's will be here.
For the listeners that watch college hoops and have seen it like this week, it's the court that when they play a college game, there's 17 three-point lines.
That is
but
true.
Yeah, we'll get that link out. Also, college basketball preview was last week. Jake Marsh, if you missed that, go download it. Very good episode with him. But
Paddy, you would love this gym. It's a shooter's gym. The Pentagon is a shooter's gym.
Oh yeah, close wall, right?
Soft rims, good lighting.
Yep.
You would love it.
Great nets. They always have great nets.
But again, appreciate you guys for tuning in this week. Another great episode. We're gonna kick it over to Paddy for the end of the show as always.
Go Orange.
I'm reckless, I'm dumb, according to you, but you don't know shit, huh? You don't know how I move. I'm rolling, I'm smoking and do. I ain't telling lies, baby, you know that I'm the truth.